Hey everybody, it's me, Steve Schneek, the CD Junkie. On this episode of CD Junkie, I'm going to be talking about Daniel Amos. Daniel Amos, who's he? Well, it's not a he, it's a band. And they are a Christian rock band. Egad! Oh my goodness, a Christian rock band. Schnee, you're going to talk about a Christian rock band, you might be asking yourself? Yes, I am. Daniel Amos was a band led by singer-songwriter Terry Scott Taylor. Now, he had some amazingly talented people along the way, like Tim Chandler and Greg Flesh and Jerry Chamberlain and Marty Diekmeyer. But the core of Daniel Amos was always Terry Scott Taylor and drummer Ed McTaggart. They were there from 76 up until now, as a matter of fact, or actually up until about 2013 when the last Daniel Amos album came out. This is an amazingly talented band. Now, I know that a lot of people think that, well, Christian rock is basically just lightweight version of whatever's happening at the time. You know, for every Journey or Foreigner, you had that type of band, in the Christian market, singing songs that were, obviously were Christian related. And that sort of scared off a lot of people. But there was a Christian underground alternative new wave scene. You had Lifesavers, The Choir, the 77s, Undercover, lots of great bands who were around at that time, but were obviously not getting a lot of promotion in the secular world. Because a lot of these artists, apart from the Amy Grants and the Stephen Curtis Chapman, apart from that kind of stuff, a lot of this stuff was only sold at Bible bookstores or at gigs or at independent stores. And there's some great stuff, but Daniel Amos, in my opinion, is the best of all these bands. I didn't get into Daniel Amos because I'd never even heard of the band up until about 82, 83, something like that. And by that time, they already had 5 albums. And so I dived in, but I skipped the first 2. People always said, oh, you wouldn't like the first 2 because they're country albums. Well, I didn't find out until later that it's not really country albums, it's country rock. So those first couple albums can be more like Poco and the First National Band and the Stone Canyon Band, things like that. And, very fine albums, great harmonies. Those were a little, the lyrics were very, how do I put this? It was very obvious that they were a Christian rock band. A lot of religious lyrics. But beginning in after the Shotgun Angel album from 77, Daniel Amos changed their style. They became this crazy, wonderful, quirky, unpredictable band. They went from playing country rock to playing like new wave rock and roll. So you're going to get like a, heavy kind of blues rock, followed by something that sounds like it could be off an ELO album, followed by something very heavily influenced by the Beatles. Now, leader Terry Scott Taylor, he has a really, really heavy Beatles influence, but he's more the John Lennon side of the Beatles as opposed to the Paul McCartney side. So, mix, John Lennon with ELO, with Bob Dylan, with, great classic rock and roll and folk and country, Americana, and you've got Daniel Amos. They were all over the map. There was a period there in the 80s where they went very new wave. By the Vox Humana album, which is a wonderful album, in 1984, it's very almost synth pop, but not quite, because there's still guitars and bass and drums and everything. But they're having fun with it. They are playing around with the whole concept of new wave and synth pop and stuff. And then they got a little bit darker, a little heavier, and with the Calhoun album and then Motorcycle and Bible Land and things like this, they became just this great pop rock band with lots of influences, like I said, Dylan and the Beatles and ELO and, edgier rock, just really wonderful. But they always surprised you with each album. They took you down different avenues. So we are going to explore the Daniel Amos catalog. Now, I believe that I have all of the Daniel Amos studio albums. So I will show you those. Now, I don't have all the Terry Scott Taylor albums, but I'll show you the ones that I've got. And then after showing you these albums, I'm going to play a medley that features just little tiny segments from the Daniel Amos studio albums. One track from every album. It's very, very difficult to decide on what song to use because there's so many great songs per album. But this is really a band that you need to check out. If the idea of like Christian rock scares you, I can't do anything about that. But I will tell you that Daniel Amos, beginning with Horrendous Disc, I will tell you that the religious imagery is still there in the lyrics, but it's not as dominant as like on the first two albums. So you can pull out a Daniel Amos song and play it for somebody, and they'll never know that they are a Christian rock band. Oh my goodness, egad! But they are fantastic. Christian rock doesn't scare me. I love it. Now Terry Scott Taylor, he did work with some other bands like the Swirling Eddies and Lost Dogs, but I don't have any of that stuff. It's hard just to keep up with the main bands, So I'm never going to really be able to afford to track all that stuff down, but I encourage you to, because this is just really great. All the projects that all these guys are involved with are really worth your time. But I'm not going to talk any more about it because I'm going to show you their catalog on CD. I'm going to play you some music, and then I'll come back for the closing. So sit back, relax, take a listen and a look, and I will see you on the other side. And let's start with the first album, 76, self-titled. And this features Steve Baxter, Jerry Chamberlain, and Marty Diekmeyer, along with Terry and Ed. Shotgun Angel came out in 77. Steve Baxter was out, but they brought in Mark Cook on keyboards, more country rock. In 1978, they recorded an album called Horrendous Disc, but it was not released until 1981. This was a game changer. They dropped the country rock, and they became just this quirky pop rock and roll band. You get everything from blues to ELO-inspired rock on this album. Sounds nothing like the original band. Here is a 2 CD expanded edition of the album, and that came out. And then here is a live 79 album recorded sort of during that time period. And here's some like rarities and alternate versions and alternate things there. Really cool collection. And then 10 Biggies from Beyond. This says 10 Biggies and more. And all of this in the Horrendous Disc box set, which is just a real treat. Just a few weeks later, out came their album Alarma, which is just quirky pop. Mark Cook was out of the band by this time. Just really great new wavy pop. 1983, this was even more new wave, more keyboards. Marty Diekmeyer was out, and Tim Chandler was in on bass. 1984, this is like the new wave album by them. This is the album that I got into. Jerry Chamberlain was out. Keyboardist Rob Watson was in, and this is just great keyboard heavy pop. 1986 came the album Fearful Symmetry. This is a heavier album. Greg Flesh joined on guitar, and it's a little bit darker than the previous albums, but still lots of great pop songs. Rob Watson, keyboard player, was out. Darn Floor Big Bite from 87 is a very quirky, guitar-heavy, still kind of new wavy album. In 1991, the band returned, but this was just back to just a great rock and roll. No sign of new wave or anything. This was, Beatle-esque, Americana, rock and roll. Jerry Chamberlain joined for Motorcycle in 1993. This is my favorite Daniel Amos album since Vox Humana. Lots of great songs on that. And then Bible Land came out in 1994. Not quite as great as Motorcycle, but still a lot of great songs on that. Songs of the Heart was a very, very strange record. The songs were all sung like almost like a travelogue, from the point of view of one person. So it's kind of one voice, sometimes sings, sometimes speaks. Mr. Buechner's Dream from 2001, Jerry Chamberlain was back out, but this is just a great record, a whole bunch of different styles of music. And Dig Here, Said the Angel from 2013. Jerry Chamberlain appears on one song, but this is just a wonderful collection of songs from Daniel Amos. Now, I don't have all the Daniel Amos, but I do have all the studio albums, at least as far as I know. Just a great band to get into. Now let's get into Terry Taylor's solo album. This is very pop, very light compared to the Daniel Amos stuff. Very more personal. Great songs. Briefing for the Ascent, a little bit darker, really personal. Lots of Beatles influence. In fact, he does a version of Long, Long, Long on this album. And then that was 87. Then 98, out comes the album John Wayne. This sounds more like a Daniel Amos, heavier rock, but still a great variety of songs. Glimpses of Grace came out in 1999, and this is a best of, that solo period of Terry Scott Taylor. Definitely a way to get into him if you can't find their original albums. Avocado Fault Line is kind of a strange record, sort of Americana country with a twang, but then there's a couple of really great pop songs on it. And then in 2002 came Little Big, which is a mini album or an EP, whatever you want to call it, and it's keyboard heavy, but keyboard, not synthesizers, but more keyboards on it. And Imaginarium, Songs from the Neighborhood. This is songs that he created for a video game, and very, very interesting. Swine Before Pearl, there's 2 volumes, and these are like demos and acoustic versions of songs that, from his career, as well as things that may come in the future. So nice collection, nice insight into him as an artist. But this right here is probably my favorite since Briefing for the Ascent, maybe even more than Briefing for the Ascent. 2 CD set. It is just stunning. I cannot believe that, pretty much 50 years into their career, and Terry Scott Taylor is still creating music that mesmerizes. Truly magical. Now, let's listen to some Daniel Amos and Terry Scott Taylor.
Well, I've been in the saddle so long. Sometimes I wish that I were home, going home to you. You know a scared little child who dreams he falls, come fall in your father's arms. Fall in your father's arms. Fall in your father's arms. All right. Man, I was shooting for a star. chair. I typed you out a little note. I said, friend, you're in my little prayer. And then I had a little laugh. I remembered Dad and his little chick. And I shed a tiny tear from my little past, 'cause the loss I feel is so big. Let the moonlight pour into the room. Hushed voices carry across the pond. I may hear the knock on the door behind me locked, where inside I am a child, still hard at play. Be that as it may.
Well, that's it. I hope this inspires you to check out the music of Daniel Amos and Terry Scott Taylor. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. Remember to like, comment, share, subscribe, to ring that bell for future notifications. And until the next time, egad, remember me, Steve Schnee, the CD Junkie.